What's up, guys? This is Llewellyn. Wanted to share with you as briefly as I can, trying to be succinct as much as possible. But I wanted to share with you a kind of epiphany I just had tonight on Bitcoin about where we are and where we're probably going. I've been feeling kind of bearish the last couple of days, and that is right up until the god of Bitcoin apparently came to me and showed me the light. I realized today that that the roadmap for what's happening is right underneath our nose, and it has been for about the last month and a half. So yeah, I wanted to just kind of walk through what I'm thinking. I haven't seen anybody make this correlation that I'm going to, but as I kind of started to unpack it, the pieces really started to come together, and I'm feeling pretty confident about this at the moment. Of course, there are never any guarantees, but hear me out. Give me a couple of minutes and let me know what you think. All right, cool. So let me just kind of dive in. So lately, a lot of people have been kind of pointing to this symmetrical triangle pattern as kind of the dominant pattern in play here, and depending on how it breaks, that'll determine what happens next with Bitcoin. But one thing has been bothering me, and that is that with symmetrical triangles, each wave should have three subwaves. So 3, 3, 3, 3. And what's been troubling me is this wave in the middle really seems like it has 5. To my count, it makes sense. It seems like a lot of people kind of see it similarly to this, where we have something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to do this all pretty quickly, so it's not going to be perfect, but this is kind of the way I was seeing this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we had subwaves like 1, 2. So this would be like wave 3, and whoops. Okay. So something like that. So to me, this breaks down pretty clearly into 5 waves, even down to wave 1 and wave 5 are like almost exactly even, which is a convention of Elliott wave. That if we have an extended third wave, that we'd expect the first and fifth wave to tend towards equal lengths. So this has been bothering me a little bit, and I realized that we have seen this before. This has already played out. Where has it played out? Let me show you. Because I remember thinking this exact same thing when this pattern was forming, and struggling with what to do with it. It's this guy right here. So I believe at the moment that this little pattern, this fractal here, is our roadmap. I believe that we are essentially in this symmetrical triangle just playing out a bigger version of this. And let me tell you why. So I distinctly remember this because this was kind of in the throes of the bear market. And, I was looking at this like it's probably a continuation pattern, like a bearish pennant or a bearish flag, or a symmetrical triangle, something like that, where, and it was feeling pretty weak, but and I was thinking it would kind of dump off and continue down like that. Instead, I remember I went to bed about 5 minutes before this happened. It was crazy, and I was shorting it from up here, so I'm really thankful I closed my position, because in the blink of an eye, a shit ton of volume came in, and we had this impulse wave follow after that. So what happened here? So this wasn't, in my estimation, this wasn't actually a symmetrical triangle. So when you zoom in, you end up with, I can find it. You end up with a similar kind of conundrum that we have right now. All right, computer, come on. What's going on here? Is Bitcoin crashing my computer? Okay. So I remember seeing this, and I remember other analysts, kind of saying similar things, where this wave here really looks like a diagonal. It really looks like a leading first wave diagonal. And I remember discussing this and kind of thinking about, well, I remember there are some other people pointing out this on like Twitter too, which is, a leading a diagonal is only going to be found in a first or an A wave. So right here doesn't make sense. It shouldn't be. It's out of place. If it is a diagonal, it's out of place. And we can see that, if you count it out, you can kind of see 1, 2, 2, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, something like this is probably what we had. So to me, it looked like there was pretty clearly 5 waves there, and then we had this sell-off here, and then we kind of had another diagonal form, right? And then we had a little ABC, and pow, it was a liftoff. So just clear this out so we don't get too cluttered. So the way that I was counting this again was, we had our first wave here. This was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is our first wave. And then we had the second wave come down here. And this was almost a full retracement. This was, it was like 88% of that move. So it was a big time retracement. And then this would be wave 1 of wave 3, 2, and then wave 3, 3 of 3, 4, 5. Oops. So that would complete wave 3 right there. So we had a extended third wave. And then for wave 5, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, something like that. All right, following me? So this section here correlates to this here. And then, so we're currently in the correction, which came down here right before we started wave 1 of 3. Now, let me back up here. Okay, so yeah, so that's how I was counting it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now if we zoom out, we see, and actually if even just taking a cursory glance at it, it looks really similar. So this first wave, that would be this wave right here, wave 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we have a truncated 5th wave here. Okay. We have A, B, C, and then we start wave 3. Which is this middle wave here. And then we're coming down. So we're in wave 2 of 3. And we haven't started what will most likely, if we follow this roadmap, be a diagonal that forms, in this region. So we get that so essentially we would have, do the bigger count here. So we have wave 1, and then wave 2, and then 1, 2, and I'm not going to measure this out perfectly, but 3, 4. So we'd have, wave 3 be somewhere up here, wave 4, and wave 5, something like that. And that's if we follow this roadmap, which it looks like so far we are to a T, just on a larger degree. So let me just fix this up so it's a little easier to look at. That white. Get rid of the wave. No, I'll keep the wave. Get rid of the other waves. Okay. And like that. No, that's fine. That'll do. Okay. So again, you can measure this out. This wave 3 is going to be a big wave. Something like that. And then here, where we are right now, this is what I believe is happening. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 waves for A. We have a short B, and then we have C coming down here. Before we start the next wave. And let me just point out that let's see, so in this little triangle, this was a pretty nasty drop right here. This diagonal formed, and then we had this big drop. And today, if you were trading, you would notice that this has been a very aggressively bearish day today. Just in the last day or so, we've dropped, almost 9%. But I will point out that even though these, like this short B, for example, it's not really uncommon even though traditionally, conventionally, it's not the most common way that you would expect these waves to play out, but we have evidence of this happening already. So we have over here, we have A, B, C. We had a really long A, a short B, and a pretty short C there. Actually, yeah, very short relative to A. And then, as I pointed out before, we had, this was wave 1. We retraced, almost 100%, over 88% there, which, guess what? This is wave 1, wave 2. It's our primary waves. Look at that. Wave 2, almost to the exact same spot, over an 88% retracement. Very interesting. So what about this wave? The wave we're currently in? Well, that one started here. We had a pullback almost to 88% again, but really those were wicks, which we can count if we want, but essentially the 786 fib provided support there, which in this instance take us about down to 7,200 if it played out. And the interesting thing that you can see here, just pointing out more of the similarities, in this symmetrical triangle that was forming here, this wave never reached the bottom of the triangle, the bottom boundary of the triangle. It stopped short of it. If we come down to the 786, that's likely what will happen too. We won't make it all the way if we make it this far, which I think is possible, but I also think there is some brewing bullish sentiment. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see it make it all the way down there, because 7,200 is pretty extremely low. Yeah, pretty low. I think. I don't know. I just feel it in the air. I think people are a little more bullish than that right now. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe people are feeling bearish like I was before I had this amazing epiphany. Now, the part where I started to really get sold on it was, so this whole correction. I've been thinking this whole pattern here. What do we do with this? I've seen all kinds of different analysis on this, and what is the wave structure here? What is this? Is this part of the correction? What's going on? If you count it this way, which again, we already have proof from this triangle here that this pattern can break this way. It's already happened very recently, within a month and a half ago. This played out almost exactly like this, where we had a big sell-off, and then we had this triangle at the bottom, and then it broke out into an impulse wave. That's the best part. What do you do with this? What is this? It's just textbook. It's just ABC. Bingo. Got 5 waves down for A, 3 for B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for C, just as we would expect. And if you want to look at this fractal even more closely, you would consider that this B wave here is essentially standing in for the top, the all-time high. So I'll just see if I can make this clear. Okay, so that area there would basically be, you know, like right here. Something like that, ABC, something like that. The point I'm making is that you can find this play out where we have a sharp fall like we do here, coming off of a swing high. I mean, this was the all-time high, but we have a steep fall down into a what looks like a symmetrical triangle, but ends up performing as an impulse wave. And again, I think even beyond all that, if you just look at it, look at the angle that this is, that this middle wave is. It's like the exact angle of this. Look at the angle of this first wave here. It's like the exact angle here. Okay, obviously now we didn't get this sharp of a drop for C, but that would have been kind of ridiculous. That would have been like a 25% sell off in, you know, a day or something, which would be crazy, but we're still getting a pretty aggressive sell off here. So in my opinion, this couldn't be more clear. A symmetrical triangle is not going to have 5 waves. If this is an impulse wave, which it looks like it is, this one we could forgive because even if it, you know, we didn't have all this data, but we had this truncated 5th wave. So it was possible to make an exception there. But this one is really hard to make an exception. This one looks like 5 waves. And if you sit down and you measure the extensions, the fib extensions, they play out exactly how you would imagine. How did that work? What the heck's going on here? So, I mean, we had an overthrow here, but we had wave 3 go all the way up to 2.618, which isn't unheard of, but if you get a wave like that, you'd expect the 5th wave to be shorter, which it was. And even if you come down into here and just looks just at the 3rd wave, I don't think this one works out as well. Oh, no. Yeah, it does. So here, too, we had the 1, 2, 3, the 3rd wave, go to the 2.618 fib as well. Now we had the longer 5th wave there, but this was our 3rd wave. This is our 3rd wave of this structure. So let's see. What else? There's a couple other things that I wanted to point out. Looking at the 4-hour chart. Let me back up. Let me just show you the bullish divergence here. So I can't remember if it was the 4-hour that really demonstrated this, but so we're on a shorter time frame, but if you look at the MACD, this entire triangle, we're getting very bullish MACD trend, right? Even RSI is ticking up too this whole time. If we go back to the 4-hour and we just look at what's going on right now, we're getting a similar kind of divergence here where price is coming down, but the oscillators are moving up. And I believe if we look at the daily for this triangle, yeah, would you look at that? Just like the small one, but we're on the daily now. We have MACD in a strong uptrend, and we have RSI also. Now not all of this is bullish divergence, but we are seeing the same kind of trends forming that we saw here. So this triangle is forming, and we have RSI ticking up like this the whole time. And we have MACD ticking up too until we get the breakout. And then pow, we're off. I can't think of any. I think that's basically all of it. Most of the main points that I was thinking about for how to explain this, and just the other thing I'll just kind of layer on top of the technical analysis is, I think the fundamentals for Bitcoin have been really improving lately. I don't know, you tell me if your read on it is different, but it seems like it's just been all good news lately. So every day I see some news story about how an investment firm is starting a crypto desk, and they're hiring some crypto people to run it for them, or just Bitcoin itself. The network is running better. It's faster than it was. We're not seeing the kind of fees that we were seeing before, and I guess just to kind of add to that, we're entering the months where traditionally we have seen bull runs. We really have. Doesn't guarantee we'll see it again, but I think that fundamentally we've worked through a lot of the issues that was keeping Bitcoin from growing and going to the next level. Even though we hit 20K, you have Circle released a product or an app where people that aren't technically savvy can buy Bitcoin more easily now, and stuff like that. So it's becoming accessible to the vast majority of people. And now, as opposed to last year, most people know what it is now. Most people have an idea of this, and a lot of people, yes, some people definitely have been burned in this bear trend, but or this pullback. But Bitcoin's not some crazy thing that only terrorists and criminals use. Now everyone knows what Bitcoin is, and I think all it's going to take is a spark to get this fire lit. And once it goes, I think we're going to see something like this, where we see unmistakable volume. And if you imagine, so this triangle, this small symmetrical triangle that I'm basing all this off of, and then look how big this wave is relative to this triangle. Now imagine the size of the wave for this triangle. And we can measure it, I guess. .272. So if we do this, .272 takes us up to 24K. A new all-time high. And guess what? That's what we would expect to happen if we get a new, if we start impulsing again, and we can make a new swing high. We can get above this level, especially right here, this 11,000 level. If we see something similar happen, what I'm going to be looking for is a diagonal forming here. If we see like a similar formation to this diagonal, and we see kind of a, something like this kind of form, and then they're just going to try to sell off, and then pow, we probably go straight up to here, where we'll just consolidate a little bit, kind of like this move was. Maybe make a pennant. Where'd all my shapes go? Maybe something like this. And then we're off to the races. I mean, tell me this doesn't look reasonable. Right? This is what you'd expect to happen. So, and our wave would look something like, I mean, it's just going to be crazy. So if we get the same thing that we got here, we'll expect wave 5 to be about the length of wave 1, which means that we can count on our third wave going to 2.618, which is what we've been seeing in all of these. The third wave goes to 2.618, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, something like that. We get a little bit of a pullback, but it won't be a big one. It'll probably be like this pullback in wave 4, because we had such a deep pullback, an 88% pullback in wave 1, that we barely got any pullback in wave 4, which is what we would expect, that they would alternate like that. So, we make a break for 2.618. I mean, we clear the swing high, and we would expect a third wave, the strongest wave, to challenge for the all-time high. I think we would all expect that. That's the wave that would do it. That's the strongest wave. That would be the most likely thing. We have, maybe even once we get above that line, we don't even give it back. We sit right on top of that all-time high, consolidate. We get something like that, and then we rip off wave 5 up to 24K. And if we're looking at time frames when that might happen, if we wrap up this consolidation, you know, early June, the next couple of weeks, 3. So if we went on a similar trajectory, just take that. So maybe that's our bull run there. Our wave 3 bull run if it goes at about the same what's the word, angle. It's not exactly the word I'm looking for, but if it goes up at the same rate, you probably get, yeah, wave 3. You probably get a new all-time high. You know, this is September or something like that. 4 and 5, something like that. Get a channel. Wave 2, so then maybe we consolidate, you know, for a while, possibly, in order to create this channel. And, you know, maybe we end up with something like that, which, you know, in the grand scheme of things, that doesn't look that crazy, does it? I mean, once Bitcoin gets rolling, this might accelerate too. You know, this would take a few months. This would be into 2019, but if this comes to pass, then we should be seeing some sweet bullish action very soon. I'm very bullish right now. I think there's too many. There are too many points of evidence here to suggest that we could see something similar. So I feel good about it right now. What's next is I want to see this diagonal form here. So that's how we'll know. Need to see some bullish action, some you know, we might get a shorter C here, but and then we end up, you know, something like that, and then we're off. So that, of course, I went much longer than I anticipated. However, hope it was useful and informative. Give me a follow. Do all the stuff it says below in the description, and I'd appreciate it. Good luck.